Just a quick one, guys. So the tip for this video is called Ask for Angela. And asking for Angela is something that started in England back in 2016 in bars and other venues, and it's basically designed to keep people from getting sexually assaulted or being in situations where they feel uncomfortable. So if you're in a bar in England, I've seen this in Wetherspoons myself, and if you ask for Angela at the bar, then that's a code word that you're in an uncomfortable situation and that you need help. So that's just a quick tip for the day. I'm not too sure how it works in America. It may be the same, it may not be, but in England, it's Ask for Angela. So I hope you enjoyed the video and I hope you like the tip. Yeah, these next few incidents happened in the past around 5 to maybe 10 years, since I was younger. This first story was from my grandma herself. We still talk about it. Back in around 2012 or 2013, I was 7 or something, and my grandma was in a Skype call with my aunt, her daughter. I was sitting behind my nana watching TV while she was on the call. I was visible in the call, and I was wearing like a black shirt and shorts, so I get up to go to the room where me and my sister slept. So as I'm in there, probably watching TV again, of course my grandmother gets asked by my aunt if I was still behind her. My grandmother responds with a no, saying that I'd just gone to me and my sister's room. My aunt supposedly saw a boy around my age, maybe younger, behind my grandmother, but he was really blurry. Like, you could tell he was a boy, but his face was like blurred. The night went on and nothing happened. We still have no clue what in the 8th degree that was. The second encounter. This one may have been the same year. My cousin and the same aunt from the last story came down because it was around some big holiday gathering we usually have. They decided to sleep in the living room downstairs, the room I'm sleeping in right now. Well, it comes the next morning, and my cousin starts his Xbox and gets ready to play some legendary game like Left 4 Dead or something, when he sees a boy walk diagonal from him in the hallway into the bedroom. Luckily his mum was there to see it. I must have come down in time because as I came down, they told me about how it had just happened. My 7-year-old self was pretty spooked, but really didn't understand it until now. I have a couple more ghost stories, but my phone is about to die, so I'll upload part 2 later. Stay safe, everyone. In 2008, while recovering from a major health issue, I bought my first house at the very top of the Blue Mountains, just outside of Sydney. The town dates back to the 1830s, and was originally a coal and timber workers settlement and a place for travellers from Sydney to stay the night before they made their journey down to the other side of the Great Dividing Range and on through what became the prime grazing land for the Western Plains beyond. Later in the 19th century, the township became a retreat for wealthy elites who built elaborate holiday homes to escape the heat of the Sydney summer. There are a few of these homes still standing, including a beautiful manor house built by the once powerful Australian media family, the Fairfaxes, as well as a large hotel, now pub, named after a member of the British royalty who once stayed for a single night. The township is nowhere near as fancy now, returning to its working roots during the week and welcoming Sydney day trippers on weekends. While I always love it, it has to be admitted that the town has seen better, livelier days. My cottage definitely wasn't one of the mini mansions. Local law says that my house was both a stable as well as a place where coachmen for the colonial era Cobb & Co. carriage service would rest for the night before either returning to Sydney or continuing on down into the Hartley Valley via the treacherously steep Victoria Pass. When I bought the house, it was a rudimentary shack with a small kitchen, living room, bathroom and a closed porch that was acting as a bedroom. I found out shortly after I moved in that the 2 previous owners before the man I brought it from had died suddenly in the house. One was a woman who I'll call Susan. Soon after Susan passed away at a respectable age, her much younger nephew inherited the house, and within weeks he passed away alone in the house from a sudden heart attack. The first night I stayed there was on a foam mattress on the floor in the living room because the movers, were arriving the next day and the room had a fireplace so I could stay warm. That night, as I slept by the fire, I had a feeling that there was something off about the room, like I was being watched by someone or something not entirely friendly, but I told myself that it was my mind playing tricks on me in an unfamiliar environment. The next day, I furnished the bedroom and slept there from then on. Aside from that strange first night and nagging sense that I was somehow weirdly intruding on someone else's space, I was mostly comfortable in my little home, a shelter from the storm that was my life at that stage. Soon things would change. I began walking in the middle of the night to what felt like someone pulling my blankets and sitting on the end of my bed. I was aware of the phenomenon of sleep paralysis and wrote it off as simply that, telling no one so I didn't appear as if my mind were having issues, along with my body. Because of this, I started finding more reasons to go back to Sydney, anything to get a peaceful night's sleep, something that didn't really happen at home. Thankfully, I got some much-deserved company and sense of safety in numbers when my mother would drive up to stay with me for a night every so often to check on me, and there was only one bedroom. We shared a bed, with me sleeping closest to the door that led to the kitchen. Weeks after her visits, I travelled down to Sydney for an appointment the next day and stayed with my mother. That night in Sydney, when we were alone, my mother said she needed to ask me something. It's important to know that my mother is exceedingly calm, intelligent, prudent, and is a definition of level-headed. But still, she looked at me with a grave look and in a very quiet voice asked simply, "Do you remember anything from the night I stayed?" I was taken aback and replied that I didn't, just that I woke up tired, as if I hadn't had a fitful sleep, but that was nothing new. It was then that she took a deep breath and told me something I'll never forget. My mum said that night she had woken up with Star in the middle of the night and looked over the top of me sleeping soundly next to her to the doorway to the kitchen that was near the head of the bed. Standing there was the image of a severe-looking woman with grey hair. She was scowling, staring at my mother with what described as malice. As if that wasn't startling enough, my mother went on to state that, at that moment, I suddenly sat straight up in bed, my upper body at a right angle to my legs, blocking her view of the doorway. Then I started mumbling tersely in my sleep. A few moments later, I lay back down quietly, and by then, my mum said the vision of the woman was gone. Being about 3 times her weight and a foot taller than her, I'm very protective of my mother. All these years later, I wonder if this is me trying to act as my mum's bodyguard against whatever stood in that doorway that night. Several years later, I had sympathetically renovated the property, creating an open-plan kitchen, dining, living room, adding a second bedroom and turning the old living room, the room I'd stayed in the first night, into a bedroom. Just weeks after the renovation was finished in late autumn, I was down in Sydney for another bloody medical appointment on what was an unseasonably hot and gusty day. As I sat in the waiting room, I checked the app that tracked local bushfires and saw alerts for one approaching my town. I drove like a maniac up the mountains, all the time looking at the terrifyingly huge cloud of grey and black smoke in front of me on the horizon. 15 minutes after screeching to halt in my driveway, my neighbour and I received an emergency service text from the government saying we need to evacuate immediately. My neighbour, I'll call her Lena, and I pack up our cars. They tell you to have, as part of your bushfire plan, a list of all the items you want to take with you. I now realise why. Your mind turns to mush in panic. Now, Lena and I had 2 paths of escape. Going down the mountain to Sydney in the east, where there were more fires and huge lines of traffic, as others in adjoining townships fled to safety of the city, or west, going over the other side of the mountain and down the pass into Hartley Vale. We decided on the latter, taking refuge in Lena's girlfriend's house. As we waited to hear if we even had homes to return to. Hartley Vale is just as old as the town I lived in, and has its own dark history, especially to do with the building of what they call the 2 bridges of the pass. Many convicts, including children, lost their lives building the road into what are essentially rocky cliffs, and until recently, countless carriages and trucks have fallen over the edges of the path deep into the valley below. Ghost stories from the past abound. Our first stop before her girlfriend's house was the restaurant Lena runs out of the beautiful old historic hotel there. Lena went to grab some wine from her cellar, wisely knowing that we had a long night ahead with frayed nerves that needed dulling. As I waited, I wandered through the dining room and then into the back rooms. I was surprised to find these rooms, though empty of furniture, were in their original state from the 19th century. The history nut in me was delighted, but at the same time, I remember that even though it was late afternoon on a hot day, enough to be classed as having a catastrophic bushfire danger, the rooms were eerily cold. I remarked on this over our second or third glass of wine later in the evening at Lena's girlfriend's house, and Lena plainly said, "You felt it too." Lena and her partner went on to tell me the numerous ghost stories about cutlery moving overnight when the place is empty, after closing, as well as spooky happenings. It was so normal to them. Lena and her partner went on to tell me numerous ghost stories about cutlery moving overnight when the place is empty after closing, as well as other spooky happenings. It was normal to them that they might as well have been describing the colour of the walls or what they had on the menu. Realising I was in safe company, I told Lena and her girlfriend about the goings-on in my house over the years. I described what my mother had seen, and Lena's mouth fell open as I described the woman with grey hair, as my mum told it to me. "That's Susan." I was open-mouthed at first, but at the same time it all started making sense. I then told them how hard it was to sleep through the night there, and asked if Lena could recommend anything that might help me get a quiet night's sleep. What did Susan like? What could I do to calm her? Presents, shall we say? Your mother has cats, doesn't she? I replied yes. Bob and Louie were Mum's pride and joy, and had just moved into a small apartment as Mum downsized from her former house, which had a garden. Lena suggested that I bring cats up with me next time I came back from Sydney. Susan loved cats. I resolved to do exactly that, assuming I had a house rather than a pile of ash to come back to. Well, the volunteer firefighters fought valiantly and were able to stop the fire 3 doors from our houses. I will forever be grateful for the amazing work they did that day and continue to do. I kept my word, and a few weeks later, I brought Bob and Louie home with me for a visit. They loved the house and having a garden again, and something shifted that weekend. The house felt warmer, lighter and brighter. Things were so peaceful that I fell asleep on the couch in front of the TV on the cat's final night with me. In the middle of the night, I awoke to a woman with grey hair leaning over me. Her face was so close to mine that I instinctively rolled away, falling off the couch onto the floor. I sprang up onto my feet and rushed to turn the lights on. Of course, the room was empty except for me and 2 sleepy-eyed felines who looked at me with bemusement as I stood by the switch on the wall, heart pounding out my chest. It was only a while later that night, as I lay in my bed trying to decipher it all, that I remembered a detail that I had missed in my shock. The grey-haired woman wasn't scowling, she was smiling, so broadly that I could see her teeth in my mind. I think Susan, as I am quite certain it was Susan, was trying to let me know how happy she was that I brought the cats to visit her. The energy in the house was different the next day and every day after. Something has shifted, and though I had to sell the house years later and return to Sydney full-time as I became healthy enough to work, I never saw her again after that night and only ever slept soundly. Well, except for one night, but that's another story about another ghost for another time. I will always miss my little house that Susan so graciously let me take care for after her. One day I want to buy it back. I hope Susan will welcome me home when I do. Hi Redditors. I have to tell you what is happening to me at the moment, since October 20th. I hope I'm not in the wrong sub because the story isn't over. I live in a small condominium in a very quiet area, in one of the biggest cities in France. My apartment is on the ground floor, at the very end of the building. In short, no one has to pass in front of my place because to access the upper floors, it's done at the other end, through the parking lot. However, at the very back of the residence, there's a common garden through which it is possible to access the floors. It's stupid. The path is longer and muddy, but it's possible. Many newcomers use this path. I get along very well with 4 of my neighbours. We talk every day for several hours, to say the least. I have taken my dog out several times a day. They keep me company and protect me. On October 18th, my neighbour confides to me that he has seen someone passing in front of her window as she's in the compartment before mine. The man would thus have passed at my place to reach the floors, so he passed on my ground. I don't want people I don't know to cross my property. It's my yard and it excites my dog. Otherwise, she barks and disturbs the neighbourhood. On October 20th, the man passed by my house while I was taking the dog out in the common garden with my neighbours. I kindly asked the man not to pass on his land, and I reminded him of the real way to reach the floors. After, he asked me if my dog was dangerous, so he wanted to reach the floors by the common garden. He started screaming, arms in the air, looked like an angry bear. Horrific. He seemed crazy. He yelled at me that he would send my dog to the shelter, that he could do whatever he wanted to, and that he knew the common rules. After yelling 1 or 2 minutes, he left mumbling. We were upset, but we never thought he would get his revenge. Here is the list, with all the days, of all the surprises that he reserved for me, even though at the time we had no proof of those actions being his. 23rd of the 10th. Theft of 2 pairs of shoes that I left outside. Dirty. It's to take the dog out in the mud. 25th of the 10th. My car scratched and a tyre deflated intentionally. 28th of the 10th. Theft of my 4 garden chairs. My last pair of outdoor shoes and my doormat. 29th of the 10th. 2 intentionally deflated tyres. 30th of the 10th. Destruction of my mailbox lock. Destruction of the padlock of my parking gate and attempt to destroy my lock of my door. From that point on, I'm just terrified. Do I have to go back to my parents? I'm afraid for my dog. She's everything to me. She saved my life so many times. I filed a complaint with the police and I don't want to play his game. On the 30th of the 10th, we installed a small camera hidden in a plastic flower pot and dead leaves on my land between some bushes. We waited for only one thing, that he came back. To have proof for the police and to identify clearly the man. He has a very particular style. Maybe I could get my stuff back if he didn't do anything with it. And damn, the pose of Evie, little name for our camera in public, I love you Wally, was effective. It took several days before Evie was filming more than just stray cats. Meanwhile, I was terrified at home, wondering if he was going to smash my car or try to poison my dog. I started to almost have panic attacks at work. Since I was late a couple of mornings when my tyres were deflated, I had to endure stupid remarks from my bosses. A lot of anxiety. On the 4th of the 11th, Evie filmed the guy stealing 2 pairs of shoes that I had left behind to lure him, and at night, at 1 o'clock in the morning, he knocks over my ashtray in front of my door. I've got him. Oh yeah, I was ecstatic. I can prove that this is the same man who verbally abused me and is messing with my stuff. I immediately notified my neighbours, and in the morning, as she left for work, my neighbour saw him chatting in the parking lot, and she took a picture of him. I can even compare it to the videos, and I can prove 100% that it's him. I wouldn't let him hurt me or my baby. I went to tell the police this morning to show them videos and make a joint complaint. Yesterday, Evie filmed him trying to get into my house. I'm afraid to be home. I don't sleep at night anymore. I'm afraid to leave my dog alone at home. I think I'm going to move. Even though I was perfectly fine in this apartment, my mum wants to get a lawyer, and I'm so afraid of her retaliation. Sir, please understand that I just want to live my life without any more problems than I already have. Please stop, and don't ever let us meet again. Hello everyone, this is the part of the video where there's no more stories, so if you're only here for the scary stories, then there's plenty more on my channel, and there's loads of other channels that do scary stories, so from this point onwards it's just me talking. But if this is what you're here for, then that's what you're gonna get. It's been a long time since I actually sat down and recorded something like this. I actually haven't recorded a scary story for ages. It's been like a month since I actually recorded a narration for a scary story, but I've been doing like the Jack the Ripper ones, haven't I, and the Ted Bundy, which I've been, to be honest, more interested in recently. Don't get me wrong, I like doing narrations, but I'm not passionate about doing narrations. If, like I've said before, I like doing it, but it's not like saying I'm like, oh, I can't wait to record a story. Do you know what I mean? I feel more like I look forward to looking into different sort of like true crime stuff more than anything, and I do like doing narrations, but sometimes I just, like recently I've been busy, and do you know when you've had like a busy day and you've been doing a lot on the like computer or whatever, and you just think, I can't bother to sit down and record an hour's worth of stories. Do you know what I mean? Even half an hour, I think I just can't be bothered, and that's just me being honest with you. The reason I haven't uploaded scary stories because I've just been busy, and I just haven't had the willpower to sit there and record and find stories and edit the stories and whatever else. I make a million mistakes when I record as well, so it's a load of editing as well, and I just feel just couldn't be bothered. And I'm not complaining, because I love the interaction I have on here, but like I've said to you guys, like narrating isn't my passion. I'm more passionate about the true crime videos that I do, like the Jack the Ripper ones. I'm proud of those ones more than I am of narrations, even though I do like narrating. It's just one of them things that I think a lot of people come here for, the narration, so I just keep doing it. But I do prefer, honestly, doing the true crime videos. They just take quite a lot of effort, whereas obviously narrating stories is like, once you've found the story, it's all there for you, and once you've got permission and all that, then you can just narrate it. But when I do my true crime videos, obviously I have to do a lot more research. But if you guys like the true crime stuff, then let me know. Like I enjoy like the Jack the Ripper one. And do you know what's quite funny? Recently, when I was doing my Jack the Ripper video, I thought, oh, maybe I should put in there like a little disclaimer to say that, like, this is a stupid thought. I was like, oh, maybe people won't know like the outcomes of the case. And I thought, if I'm putting in a fucking spoiler for a Jack the Ripper video, I mean, it happened 120 odd years ago. If you haven't heard by now, then and then I thought, oh, that's a stupid idea. I'm not gonna put that in. I'm not gonna put any. Imagine a spoiler for the Jack the Ripper case happened by 1888. But yeah, I don't know. I'm going to do more Jack the Ripper videos. I've been listening to a lot of podcasts on it recently, and a lot of different suspects. And some of the suspects they say for these Jack the Ripper things, like, it's such a reach, Some of them, like the royal family. Why would the royal family do it in Whitechapel? Do you know what I mean? When Whitechapel was like poverty stricken, why would they? Like, I think it's like Prince Albert. Is it? I don't know the names. It might have been Prince Albert. Yeah, it would have been Albert. I don't know. I don't know much about the royal family, if I'm honest, but was that who was around in the 1880s? I don't know, but I think he's one of the suspects, but it's a stupid claim, I think. And there's other ones like, oh, I really want to make a video on H.H. Holmes as well. I've been looking into that too, but I want to find like a good way to do it and, make it worth watching. But he's another suspect for the Jack the Ripper thing, and even then I think that's a reach to, him being in America and everything. I think it's a bit of a reach. There's this is a boring chat, isn't it? So I'm gonna go off the topic. Actually, you know what? I like talking about the Jack the Ripper case. So if you want to hear me waffle about that, then I'm probably just gonna waffle about it. I would love to go to Whitechapel and go to the places where all the stuff happened. I don't live that far from Whitechapel, so it wouldn't be like impossible for me to go there and film some bits, but it's just having the time again, is the time to do it. Also the motivation to do it as well. But yeah. Also, what have you guys been up to recently? I like finding out what you have been doing, so let me know in the comments what you guys have been up to, and you know, have you done anything interesting? Have you been anywhere cool? You know, let me know. I'm interested to know, like, what sort of jobs do you guys do too? Like, I know not a lot of people listen to scary stories when they do like night work and stuff. I've never done a night job, but I'd imagine that's the sort of thing I would do probably. Like, to have loads of podcasts ready, especially if you're like, you know, just wandering around or whatever, or you got not much to do. I think that's probably what I would do, especially if you're allowed to do it. Just help to pass the time, wouldn't it? Really. You know what? I can't tell if I've got a cold coming or not. I don't know. I really hope not. It'd be so typical. I don't want a cold. I don't want another cold. I only had one recently. I just don't want another. Not COVID. I've done a COVID test. It's not COVID. But yeah, I don't want a cold. I fucking hate getting colds. They're horrible. And I never get like just a little sniffle. I always get like a stinking rotten cold if I get one. So I just don't want it. Really don't want it. But yeah, what else have I done recently? You know, it's been so long since I actually just sat down and spoke with you. It's like just about anything. And I actually had an outro recorded, but I thought I can't use that because it's like a month old now. So I thought just record a new one really. 1 second. Have you guys got any podcasts you could recommend me? Because I like true crime stuff. So if you guys can recommend me something that's interesting, I like hearing about different sort of stories and stuff. Not scary stories. I don't listen to true scary stories. I listen to like more true crime more than anything, and like I'm just interested in like medieval stuff and all that sort of thing. So if you guys can recommend any good podcasts, then that'd be good. Thank you. But yeah. Who do you guys, out of the Jack the Ripper suspects, right? I'm going back to it. Who do you guys think is the most likely to have done it? Because I know people go, oh, we'll never know. But surely we will. Surely we'll find something out. I think a lot of the time people just reach him. Like, I think the suspect is probably... people say it could be someone we don't know, which is possible. It is possible it's someone haven't even identified yet. But in my opinion, I think Charles Lechmere is Jack the Ripper. That's just my personal opinion. You know, he lived on the route. His work route was where the killings took place. You know, he was found at one of the murder scenes. He was the first person there, and that was the one where the person wasn't mutilated, wasn't it? And it makes you think he got caught mid-act. You know, he lied about his name, said his name was Charles Cross to the police, and it was Charles Lechmere. He was a meat delivery person, so he would have blood on him, and it wouldn't go amiss. Like, people wouldn't look twice at him if that's his job, having blood on him. And to me, it just seems too convenient. I mean, maybe he's just the world's most unlucky man, but I think it's too much of a coincidence when it comes to him. I don't think that Aaron Kuzminski did it, because I think it was a lot to do with anti-Semitism back then. I know he's a good suspect for the case, but I think it was. I don't think it was him. I could be wrong. Let me know who you guys think in the comments as well. I don't think it was him. Who else is the suspect? Like I said, like the royal family. That's a load of old ass. The H.H. Holmes. Doubt it. Then there's that the American guy, the Tumblety guy. He's suspicious because obviously there was reports of him having what was it? It was like ovaries or something in his in his office in America, which is a bit weird. Who was the person? It could be Tumblety again, who was found with like a brass ring that was one of the things that went missing off of one of the Jack the Ripper victims. And that's suspicious, but I don't know. I'm gonna have to do some more research into it because I don't really know. But my best guess would be, if I had a gun to my head and I had to guess, I would go with Charles Lechmere, honestly. But there's also a chance that it wasn't just one person. It could be multiple killers. Do you know what I mean? Might not just have been one person. These could all be separate murders. So it's just an interesting one, isn't it? But it's the fact it hasn't been figured out as well. It's just a very strange one. But I don't know. Let me know what you guys think anyway, because I'm not convinced with some of the people that are. There's also that Maybrick guy who had the pocket watch with the victim's initials carved in the back with Maybrick written in it too. And there was that diary that was meant to be him from his old house admitting to the murders. It could be a fraud, it could be a fake, but he's kind of suspicious as well. He's a weird guy too. I mean, all of them are going to be a bit weird, aren't they, if they're suspected of it? But yeah, that's another one that I'm a little bit suspicious of, but yeah. So anyway, I'm going to get off this topic. What have I been up to recently? Just been busy. Do you know when you like little things just accumulate? That's what it's like at the moment. Just loads of little things that I need to keep doing over and over again. Just takes up something. Even if you got like pick up a prescription or something. Do you know, it's just like all these little things constantly. That's the sort of thing I've been doing. And I don't know. I just feel a bit like can't be bothered to do anything. Which is a good thing that I'm doing this right now, because normally if I can't be bothered I won't do anything. So at least I'm taking action. I've also got back into running again. I have been running quite a lot. I love going for runs. It just helps clear your mind so much and just makes you feel better. Honestly, I would recommend going for runs to anyone that, even just not to get in better shape, just to feel better. It really does help a lot when you can just get out, and especially running outside, not just in the gym. It makes you feel so much better when you can actually just get out and go for a run in fresh air and that. But let me know if you guys do like 5Ks or anything. What sort of times do you get if you do a 5K? I would like to know what is like a good time to get and what's not a good time and that, because I'd like to do like charity runs and stuff at some point. So I'd like to be like competitive at least. Like, I want to try and get like a decent time. So let me know what is actually a good time to get in these sort of things. What else has been going on in the world? What's been going on? I actually don't know. See, I don't, like I've said before, I think I don't watch the news or anything, so I never really know what's going on. Like, I know a lot of the listeners here are from America, but in Australia, but I don't really know what goes on in these places because, like, I just don't keep up to date with anything. I think sometimes that's better, to be honest, like, because when you watch the news, it's all just negative stuff all the time, isn't it? And it's always about a war or some sort of killing or robbery or something. And it's never good news, is it? But I mean, it'd be quite boring if the news was just like, a puppy was found in a field. It'd be quite boring, wouldn't it? Someone saved a cat. So I suppose when you do hear about like these things, I suppose it's interesting to some people, but I don't like how negative it is all the time. It's always about bad things, isn't it? But yeah, I'm probably going to end this soon because I don't really know what else to talk about. I'm just getting back into things. And you just get back in the swing of it, aren't we? Really, it's nothing particularly interesting to talk about. Like, no, it's nothing. Do you know what it is as well? It's the weather in England, right? It's always shite, and even now it's cold, overcast, grey. I think, why can't it just be sunny? I'd wish I was from a sunny country where it's just hot all the time. Like, you just go outside in like a t-shirt and shorts or something, but it's always pissing cold and raining and whatever in England. Let me know where you guys are from as well. That's something I'm genuinely interested in. I like to know where people are from and where you're listening from and what you're getting up to, because I don't know if also let me know if do any other channels talk to you guys at all. Like, obviously you don't just listen to this channel, you obviously listen to other ones, but like, do they actually sit down and like have a chat with you? Because I remember, what's his name, the English guy, lazy mass, something like that. He used to do like a thing where but he only spoke for like a minute at the end of videos, and I used to like that. That's why I thought about doing this too, because like the channels I listen to, I like hearing what they're getting up to and having some interaction with them, but I don't know if many other channels do. But I think a lot of channels think they're a bit aloof. Like, they think they're better, like they think they're famous, don't they? And it winds me up when people on YouTube think they're famous, because especially like horror channels as well, so no one cares, do they? Do you know what I mean? Like, you're just a normal person like everyone else listening, nothing special. You just read stories online and people get a bit above their station with it, don't they? I don't know. So I don't really talk to other people on YouTube, if I'm honest. I have people that I like, but mainly the people I get on with are like, the biggest channel I actually get on with is a really nice person. Mortis Media is a really nice guy, and De Burke is a really, really nice guy too. I get on with these guys a lot, but not like I have conversation every day with them. Like, it's every 5 months or something I'll catch up with people. But those are the two bigger channels that I do get on with really well. But apart from that, I don't really, I don't have any interest in collaborating with people, if I'm honest with you. I just like doing my own thing, really. Like, people say I'll collaborate with, Mr. Nightmare and Corpse Husband. I don't really want to. I don't know if they even make videos anymore, but they used to, and people still ask me to collaborate, so I'm assuming they do, but I don't have an interest in it. I really don't, because I'm sure these people don't want to be sitting there talking about some murder mystery that happened in the 1900s or something, or like, I'm thinking of making a video on like this shipwreck that happened in the 1600s where people were like fighting to the death on like these little islands, and that's what I'm interested in. I'm sure these people don't want to waste their time with me talking about that sort of stuff, but I find it interesting. And I also don't like the idea that people think they're doing you a favour. Ugh, have a day off. Do you know what I mean? No one cares. If people want to work with you, it's because they like what you make. It's not because some people might do it because they want subscribers, but I don't like that whole thing of like, oh, I'm doing you a favour. Do you know what I mean? Like, I'll piss off. I don't care. I'd rather not get any views than do that, to be honest. I don't get loads of views anyway. I like the idea that I get like just people that are interested in the topic. So even if it's like a couple of thousand, at least it's a couple of thousand people that are, genuinely interested in what I'm talking about. I'm probably sound like I'm really whinging today. I think it's just because I don't feel great today. So sorry if I sound like I'm whinging. But yeah, I need to do that charity of the month thing again. It's been about a month since I did it now. So the last one we did was cancer research. So what could I do? I did actually have some comments, so I'm going to need to go back over the comments because I asked people for suggestions for it. I'm going to have a look. So if you have any other suggestions, let me know, because obviously we're going to be doing it every month. So if you think of anything good, let me know. How long have I been talking for now? It's got to be about 20 minutes almost now. I don't really know. Do you guys think I talk for too long at the end of these videos? I mean, it's not like it's really going to change anything, because, I just like talking at the end of videos. But if you think I need to talk about something a bit more specific, or just not rambling, or if you think it's boring, let me know. So I'll try and think of some more topics. But I normally just turn my camera on, and my microphone on, and just start rambling about whatever I want to talk about. But yeah. Oh, do you know what else happened recently? I I had a bit of a nightmare. And this is going to sound boring too, but I stubbed my toe so badly yesterday. And do you know when you forget about how bad a pain is? It was excruciating. Do you know, I proper slammed it against the wall when I was getting out of my bed, and my bed's really close to my wall. And I just like toe punted the wall, and it was fucking excruciating. It's a horrible pain. Do you know, I went down. I'd fucking been like shot, and it's pretty proper dramatic. But it was like I thought the end was coming. You know, it was it was horrible. I thought I'd just snapped my foot in half or something. It was horrible. But yeah, that's horrible pain, isn't it? It's really, I hate stubbing my toes. They're like them paper cuts when they're right in between your finger. Oh, horrible. I hate it. But yeah, I'm going to end this now because I have been rambling for too long about absolutely nothing. But thanks a lot for listening, everyone. And if you enjoyed this video, let me know. And I'll speak to you guys soon. Bye.